Hey everybody, how's it going? So I wanted to give you an update on the whole Solomon's Temple research. And first, before I even get started, I want to give a shout out to Chuck, that's CFAP7865, and also Julie Street 377. Julie put together this great graphic. Chuck had remembered that this Teotihuacan, the pyramids, that's another Orion correlation, by the way, which makes this very interesting. He remembered that the layout of this actually was a lot like Solomon's Temple. And so when Julie got down and did the graphic for this, it turns out that it all seems to match up quite nicely. And he goes into detail and explains that for you. So shout out to Chuck and Julie. Seems like the pieces are falling together. We now have Egypt, showing the Solomon's Temple design that we see in comparison to the Temple of Luxor. But what's even better about the Temple of Luxor is that R.A. Schwaller de Lubic's already went through the Temple of Luxor, and by the hieroglyphics was able to actually realize that they were talking about these specific areas of the body that you see right here. In the first video, we didn't have the full Solomon's Temple, but we have two very important areas. We have this area right here, and this, which corresponds to the Ark of the Covenant, which we'll get into in just a second. In this graphic, following the same phi lines, we see that where Thoth is actually weighing the heart against the feather of truth, we have this chest. And right here in the head area, we have the Ark of the Covenant, where Osiris is located. So the phi lines of this are actually matching up to what we see. The altar that you see right here that stands next to this person, the Egyptians placed things at certain levels to correspond to certain areas of the body. And what this is corresponding to is the beginning of the sacrum. And if you notice right here, you see the same offering right here. She's standing on the porch and Anubis is leading her into the temple. As soon as the offering is given, then we have the beginning of the sacrum and moving all the way up to the head where the Ark of the Covenant is. We saw that from a poster that actually, if you look on the particular video regarding this Solomon's Temple located at the Rothschild's castle called Chateau de Ferrier, I guess is how you say that. Another version of the Solomon's Temple, and even down to some of the smallest details where you see the two eyes on either side. Well, they're not actually eyes, they're at the base of the skull. And you see them right here with the Holies of Holy right here. And discovered that this looked like a key based on somebody who had given some anonymous posts. So the next place to go was Vatican City at St. Peter's Square. Now from Vatican City, St. Peter's Square, we were able to map this thing out in very high detail. As you see right here, we see both the little stars on either side corresponding to these little temples, the Holy of Holies corresponding to the larger temple. And we see the same Orion correlation here, because inside the temple where the altar is the painting by Bernini. And as shown on the video before, you actually see that there are many cathedrals, probably about 4 or 5 of them. St. Mary's, Chapel of Versailles, Karlskirche, Assenkirche with a painting, and now we have this right here, which is the second discovery I ever made. And it's corresponding, this temple, the altar inside there, corresponds to the center of the Orion Nebula. And what we learned about the Orion Nebula through all of this discovery process so far is that it is associated to the pineal gland. And then there is a triangle with an eye in the middle of that, which also corresponds to the symbolism of the pineal gland, and it also corresponds to the Father, God the Father, which we see in all of the various cathedrals with the pyramid-shaped triangle on top of his head. And here's an example of Egypt right here, where we have going from the sacrum all the way up. Where it opens up right here is where it opens up into the skull, and we know that from the cathedral art, we've proven this over and over again, that the pyramids of the brain are located right where you see this line, which is also where the Great Pyramids are located. And this imagery that you see up here, the altar that is inside this temple, this corresponds to the Orion Nebula. This is an infrared version of the Orion Nebula, which is captured in cathedrals from anywhere from about 1500 to about mid-1700s. And if we take that all the way back over to Egypt, we see that Egypt itself and the triangle that we see in the delta corresponds to the same triangle that we see in the same place, which corresponds to the pineal gland. There is a video I have called The Axis Mundi of Orion and Earth, and you can actually see in detail the various areas as I single them out around the delta, showing that we have a match here according to the Orion Nebula. Now this is very mysterious. It gets into the mysteries and it gets into the workings of mind and the way mind actually works in the universe. And we actually see that the Nile Delta is copied in the Orion Nebula. And now we see it in St. Peter's Square corresponding to the same place. So we have Teotihuacan, we have Egypt, both associated to Orion. And now we see that St. Peter's Square, the same thing is depicted up here where the pineal gland is, corresponding to the same area in Orion. All of these things correspond with each other. I wanted to share this graphic with you real quick. This is an MRI of a person right here. That's a male frame. And I put him overlaid on top of what we see here. The blue dots that you see right here are resting where the base of the skull is. So in Egypt, that would actually be where the pyramids are located. And R.A. Schwaller-Lubbock's also noted that on the Temple of Luxor, the cap of the skull is always sticking out above it. Because the reason why is because the spinal cord goes all the way up, it goes into the brain, and it goes where the pineal gland is. Above that, it's not accounted for. The skull cap is not accounted for at the very top. But when we take the Tree of Life, and you can actually see the heart inside this person right here, and you can see the incense altar that you see right here, and the overlay shows that the heart is corresponding to both the incense altar and Teperath, which is number 6 here. The two lines, or the line that you see moving across the two blue dots that you see right there on either side, that is the doorway according to the Tree of Life, and it is also where the pyramids sit. This is where the spinal column moves into the base of the skull, the doorway from the spinal column down here into the mind up here. And then we have the Holy of Holies. And you can see, you can even see the genitals of this person inside the porch area where the root is. And you can see that the lines of the Tree of Life follow the lines of the pelvis area, and the heart fits right in there, shoulders are right in there. Even the fingertips of this person, which cannot be seen that great on the MRI, are also pretty much in line with what you see here on either side, the feet on the footrest and everything. And so the 5 that you see associated to this, you have the root, and then you have this sacral area up here, which is right at the top of the sacrum. And then you have the heart area that you see right here. And you can see the heart on top of it. And then right here, where the base of the skull sits, which is right across this line right here. And these, according to Manly Hall, these also correspond kind of like the left and right brain hemispheres. And at the very top here, you have the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant sits. And this is where the pineal gland sits as well. And I have some symbolism I want to show you for that also. Now, if you've never seen, this is actually taken from Wikipedia right here. And you can see that you have the brain stem coming up, and you have the 2 angels on either side sitting on the ark. Here's your Ark of Covenant right here. Notice how the sun is in between those two? That's what you see right here. The pineal gland is the spiritual sun. And then this is a very interesting one, because when you take a look at the St. Peter's Square, at the very top here you actually have the cross. Now this cross, you'll notice that that's slightly on the right side of his head, and the reason that is because they do this stuff 3D. So the shadow is on the left side, and the buildings are tilted in such a way that it looks kind of like it's in 3D. But actually it would be right in the center of the head right here. right where the pineal gland is located. You'll notice that the cross is. And I notice that Jesus himself actually has the cross, and you'll normally see that, and it goes right across where his pineal gland would sit, where his brow is. And here is the Ark of the Covenant. Here's Jesus right here with the eye and the triangle above it. That stands for the Father, God the Father, which stands for the very top part of the tree of life. So there's some interesting symbolism there showing the same kind of thing. This right here shows the Orion Nebula and its correspondence to the human brain. And the triangle that you see right there, the light triangle, is the same as the dark triangular area right there. And right in the middle of that dark triangular area is where the pineal gland sits. This has been mapped out in high detail. We can see the optic chiasm right down here, the first part of the frontal lobe. This whole ellipse or vesica piscis that we see right here corresponds to what we see right here. But what was our clue to initially take the Orion Nebula and associate it to a brain was thanks to Michelangelo. Michelangelo's creation of Adam, we can actually see that he has painted the Orion Nebula, and we can see, for example, this lady all the way through. These are different sections taken, and I have a great video in my starter videos called The Hidden Image inside the creation of Adam. So he's painted the Orion Nebula, and so our connection point to being this and the brain is because we know that anatomists have actually nailed this as being the brain, but I actually have another image that kind of goes into detail on that for you. But there is a distant view. Now I also have a zoomed in view just on God's head to make sure that we're really looking at the Orion Nebula as what he painted. When we zoom in to God's head, for example, as compared to the Orion Nebula, where this is all painting, this is a 50-50, and this is all nebula, we can see that even in small details. And this is the same grid area of the painting versus where everybody else would be. You can see that he's actually painted the Orion Nebula. Michelangelo was an anatomist, and one of the things that he painted was the nervous system. This is a sculpture showing crucifixion, but this also shows the same thing that I showed you on the outside of the cathedral. Right here is the pineal gland. You see on the Ark of the Covenant. We have the two angels right here, and this is your spiritual son, and this is located right where the face of Jesus is. So that crucifixion would be going right across his face, just like we see on the outside of the cathedral. This is interesting because we always hear about Jesus as one foot being in front of the other. Well, that's exactly what you would have to do if you wanted to make it look just like a brainstem that you see right here. The sun and the moon represent the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Here's another image, Michelangelo's crucifixion sculpture, showing the brainstem. And you can even see that the chest and the rib cage and even the stomach muscles mimic the same thing as you see in the art. So now, knowing that Michelangelo painted the Orion Nebula, and we can saw that in detail all the way down to God's head, he also painted a brain as well. And this triangular area that you see right here, right where we see right here, this midsection of God here, you can see how he did the clothes of God, which is the fornix that you see right here, and the midbrain, which looks like a bird's head, kind of, that you see right here, done with the clothes of God as well. So you have the purple area, you have God's clothes and the way they crease, and you have the actual MRI of the midbrain, and then you have the fornix right here, and you can see that they're all relative to where they should be in the painting, as well as God's arm and everything. So he did paint a brain, and he did paint the Orion Nebula, and that gives us our correspondence between the Orion Nebula and the brain. It gives us the correspondence between the pineal gland, where we see in Egypt that the Nile Delta is associated with the pineal gland. The cathedral in St. Peter's Square associated to the pineal gland and the Orion Nebula. And then also we have the pyramids of Teotihuacan also matching up to Orion's belt. And we know that that has a very strong Orion correlation to it. There's also another picture I can show you as far as that goes. And then this is the Orion Nebula as compared to a human brain mapped out. All these different areas have been mapped can even see the optic chiasm. You can see the pituitary. And this light colored triangle, this bright colored triangle that you see right here that sits in the middle of the Orion Nebula, and the little vortex that sits right in the middle of it, it corresponds to the exact same angles that you see of the triangle and what you would see on someone's head facing to the right, which is what we always see in nature, like for example Egypt. And so we can see that there is clearly a correspondence between the center of the Orion Nebula, and also this triangle matches the slopes of the pyramid as well, and there's an eye right in the middle of it. That eye corresponds to God the Father. It corresponds to where the Holy Spirit is located and where it emanated from originally. This particular pattern of the nervous system can also be seen all over Earth. Here is another example of the Ark of the Covenant. Notice this time we have a heart there. It represents the heavenly heart, the heart of the brain. So we have two hearts. We have the heart of the body. We have the heart of the body, and then we have the heart of the brain. So as you can see with Solomon's Temple, we actually have a person here. That is the outline of a person. And when we take a look at the Tree of Life on top of this thing, we can see that Teperath, which is where the sun is here, is located where the heart is. That's the heart of the body. And then we have the spiritual sun. And this area, this room, is where the Ark of the Covenant is located, and we can see the symbolism of the human body here as well, as associated to the Ark of the Covenant. So please go check out Chuck's new video, and give him a shout out. And also Julie Street 377, who did the graphic for that. Pull that graphic up real quick so you guys can see it. As you can see, Julie did a great job on this thing, and you'll notice there's some key areas like where the heart is located, very middle of the pyramid, and the strip of land that goes down between. But I'll let Chuck describe that in his video, so I'll leave a link to that in the description area. You guys go check out his video, and it seems like the pieces are falling together little by little. Y'all take care. I'll talk to you soon.